So if you are in nature, your body would release and do some tremoring, for example, in order to release everything. And then your life goes on without any trauma and with a completed stress response. However, due to our modern life, this stress response often is not completed. So we are in a situation where we cannot move. The stress comes. The body reacts exactly the same as if we were facing some kind of danger in nature. But we are not in nature. We cannot move. We cannot fight, or we cannot run away. So we just stay there without releasing, without completing the stress response. So it accumulates and it creates like extra stress, chronic stress, anxiety, chronic anxiety, and so on.
Welcome to Hopeful and Wholesome, the show where ambitious women come home to their bodies. I'm your host, Hope Pedraza, and I'm a functional practitioner, human design guide, and expert on all things energy, and your partner in decoding the language of your body. This is your space to reconnect with your body's wisdom, reclaim your energy, and rise into alignment in your health, your business, and your life. Because thriving isn't about pushing harder, it's about learning to listen deeper. So let's dive in, because your next breakthrough starts right now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today I have on the show Raquel Devillé, and she is a neurodiversity therapist and creator of the EnCorps Method, a 7-step body-based system designed to help atypical women embrace their neurodiversity without medication or traditional therapies. Raquel supports her clients in managing chronic stress, anxiety, sensory overload, and social exhaustion by reconnecting with their bodies and empowering them to live authentically. And today we are talking all about the neurodivergent woman. And whether you are classify yourself as neurodivergent, I honestly think all of us have a little bit of atypical neurofunction in our bodies. And I think everybody has someone in their life who is neurodivergent. And so Raquel's going to break it down and really help us understand what that means, help us dispel some myths about neurodivergent minds, and really how we can use this as our superpower, since she does help people to really embrace their neurodiversity without medication or traditional therapies. She really has a body-based holistic approach for this, and I think you're going to find it pretty fascinating. So let's jump in. All right, y'all, I'm here with Raquel. Thank you so much for joining us today, Raquel.
Thank you, Hope, for inviting me to be here with you today.
Yes, I'm excited about this conversation. And neurodivergence is kind of the route we're going in this conversation. I would love to hear, because I always we have so many interesting practitioners and experts on here, and everybody has a story of why they got into the field that they're in, and it's always a nice, interesting personal story. I would love to know what took you down the route of becoming specifically a neurodiversity therapist and taking that specific lens in the therapy world.
And so basically, I discovered that I'm neurodivergent. I didn't know it was neurodivergency when I was a kid. So when I was a teenager and I was in middle school before going to high school, in the school where I went, there were tests. So you can decide the kind of the area where you can go. And that was the first moment. But I was a teenager, I was distracted with teenager problems, and I didn't really pay attention to it. So I just remembered it some years ago, when I realized that I'm neurodivergent thanks to my kids. So my kids' school, it was not problematic for grades or anything, but they had some challenges, especially social challenges, that made me move them from one classical school, pedagogical classical school, to not a Montessori, because here it's called Freinet, because it's a French approach. It's very connected to nature, and they do lots of activities. So I changed them, and it really changed their lives for the better. and being there with different teachers, with teachers that knew a lot about being neurodivergent. The teachers like told me, "Oh, perhaps you could like check this out and check this out because there are they do this and that, and it could be this or that." So I started to read a lot about it, and at the same time, I was doing a training where there were a lot of neurodivergent people, and I felt normal among them, and it was like so cool. And then I started like connecting like the dots, and I started to read about it. And then, well, I trained in therapy, so being specialized in trauma, there's a lot of connections that with neurodiversity and trauma. And so studying trauma made me study more neurodiversity, and also gender related studies. And well, that's how I got into neurodiversity, because there were very different, very common aspects in all of them. And the one that interested me the most was neurodiversity, especially giftedness, ADHD, and autism in women. So that's how I got to it, realizing that I could be like somewhere there.
Yeah.
And then having more and more clients that seemed to be there as well. So this made me dive deep into the subject. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Yeah, no, it's a good, it's always, your own personal journey always plays such a powerful piece in the path you decide to take. So I think that's really the illustration of it. I probably should have started with this, but for those listening, I know neurodivergence is a term that I hear a lot, but I also think it's just because I'm in the bubble. Like we just hear about it a lot. But for those who are listening who maybe they've heard the term, maybe they haven't heard the term, but maybe they don't exactly know what it is, can you give an explanation of what neurodivergent means?
So divergent, for me, it's a statistical term, as normal, also a statistical term. And I actually think or believe that it doesn't really apply to biodiversity, human diversity, and neurodiversity. So neurodiversity, it's a term that I prefer to use. And basically, it's, the different way of functioning human beings have. So in very simple terms, we are very different physically, and we are all very different the way we function. And some people, so you have people with a certain skin color and eye color, and so there are some people that look more like each other, and there are some people that have a way of functioning that approaches some other people. And so, but everybody is different. So basically, it's the way we function as human beings. And there are some names for it, but the term neurodivergent, basically, for me, it's like a big cloud where you can put all the different things. So ADHD, autism, giftedness, but also OCD, and so on. So all these things go into this cloud, and then there are people that are more in. So let's imagine like a colored cloud, and some people are more on this side of the cloud with this color, and some people more there, and some people here mixing. And that's how we are. So basically, it's the diversity of ways of functioning human beings have.
That makes total sense. Thank you for that explanation. And it's always interesting because I think a lot of times the neurodivergent conversation has been a heavy conversation in the United States right now with a lot of things going on in our government. And so the conversation has been thick. And it's funny because you mentioned giftedness as one of, a part of this in the cloud. And I feel like at least from what limited knowledge and experience, the majority of, at least in America, I doubt that it's like this everywhere. But it's like the only thing people know of is you're either autistic or ADHD. Like, those are the only two things that people know of are, in the neurodiversity field. But it's such a broader field than that. And like you mentioned giftedness, you mentioned these other things. So I think it's interesting to see that there is a lot more in this. Like the image of the cloud was a good analogy because we kind of see that.
Yeah. It's a cloud. You can also have like this diagram with circles. It also works well where you mix everything. So giftedness, yes, it is a form, but it's like it's perceived as privileged neurodiversity.
Sure.
But the thing is that it often comes with the age in ADHD. So hyperactivity of the brain. So gifted people are people that are always stuck in their head, like thinking way too much
Always
and
on.
not very connected to their bodies.
Yeah.
So, and it comes with its own set of problems. So it's great. So you are gifted, so you do well at school. Or not even, because if you have like it mixed with ADHD, for example, you might be very clever, very intelligent. So I have a client with a very high IQ and ADHD. So for this person, studying, it's a kind of a disaster, because when there is an interest in the subject, it goes really well. So like best student ever. When there is no interest,
not so much.
It's total failure.
Yeah.
And there's not like a gray area.
In between,
It's just one or the other.
Yes.
I'm also a bit like that. So it's either white or black. So it's, and I do have trouble with the in between.
Yeah.
And and this is a particular thing, but also it comes with extra layers of stress.
Sure.
So because you are always thinking and questioning the sense of life and the sense of things and everything. And it can come with autism, and then autism also has like different places in the in the cloud,
right,
and is also different from men and women and all the genders. So I don't want to be binary here, because that's another thing. So often it's gender is also very related with the way of functioning. And so also an interesting cloud. And and we often talk about ADHD and autism, and even the ADHD, it's not just one thing. So you have the attention span, and you also have the hyperactivity.
Right.
And this hyperactivity, it can be physical, but it can also be like mental, way too much, like overthinking, for example, but a lot in a very extreme way. And it can also be the inattentive type. And so it's one name, but it's very broad. So
that's a good explanation. Now, and I think that's a good. Well, and the same with, I mean, like this, a lot of the debate right now about autism in the United States is a lot of people are making the point, like there's a spectrum. That's why it's called autism spectrum disorder. Like there's
and
a spectrum.
It's not necessarily linear.
Exactly.
So it's cloudy.
Exactly. 100%. So one of the things I find is interesting in the work that you do with your clients is the way you support your clients is being able to kind of work with their neurodiversity without medication. And I want to point this part out because I think that, so at least again, my only reference point of this is from an American perspective, what's happening in the United States. And I'm sure it's very different in Europe, but a lot of times when parents, for example, are faced with kids, that are diagnosed with whatever, the only option they're given is medication. And so they think that's the only option because that's the only option they're given. So how are you helping people with neurodiversity be able to manage and even like embrace this part of them without medication?
So I don't know how it goes in the US, but here, so I'm very much into the subject. And so my family, we are all neurodiverse, So for us, it's like normal. Let's use that word.
Sure.
So for us, not being normal is just being normal.
I love that.
That's how we are. So
I love it.
And and one day I was talking with a person, my photographer, that told me, "Oh, my psychology asked me, but do you actually tell people that you have ADHD?" And my photographer answered, "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I?" And I was thinking, but why wouldn't you say that? Because for me, it's like I'm so open about it, but it's not. Sometimes it's a taboo, and it happens even more with autism. There are other forms that I see a lot here, such as dyslexia, dyscalculia. I don't know how we say this in English. It's dyscalculic.
But with the math, with the numbers.
The numbers, yeah.
Yes.
And also dyspraxia, and that it's like physical coordination. And of course, it's also a cloud. So I know some people like very gifted and very not coordinated physically.
Right. Yes.
And so some people they use medication. So so if a doctor said, "Okay, take this medication," the person takes the medication. I don't even it doesn't even cross my mind to say to go against what the doctor said. So I always respect, and I think it's very important.
Sure.
But then some people, sometimes they prefer to take less medication or no medication. And so I use a body approach. So the idea is to connect with the body and to connect with the sensations. And this allows people to get out of their head. And by doing this, getting out of the head and going into the body, you can work on this extra stress layers. And the stress will always be there, but it's the way that you live it and how you manage it that changes. And then it can come, but you are, let's say, grounded enough in order to deal with it without being overwhelmed or overly stressed or even traumatized. And there is also a sense of so this is something that my clients tell me a lot, that when they work with me. So the first conversation is that, oh, they are not alone, like in this thing. So there are more people like them, because there's a sense of loneliness as well, especially in women that have a certain age and that haven't been diagnosed.
Sure.
And they always think there's something wrong with them, with their hormonal system, or they might be going crazy, or whatever. So it's their periods, or menopause or perimenopause, and it's just the way they function and their sensibility to different stimuli outside. And so we work with that.
That makes sense. Do you feel like and I know this is not to speak in generalities, because I know there's going to be like a nuanced and individualized part to this, but you've mentioned this a couple times now with like the overthinking and the hyperactivity that can be in the head, and you're talking here about the kind of this body-based approach. Do you feel like those who are neurodivergent, or on this neurodiversity cloud that we're talking about, that the ones that maybe struggle the most with specific symptoms or just functioning, do you feel like the biggest difference between that and the ones who don't is this connection to the body? Do you feel like that's kind of the missing piece of kind of being able to thrive in this spectrum?
So, yeah, I think the connection with the body, it's the most helpful thing, because so it's the body that allows people to release stress and everything that happens. So all the stress response that we have, it's a body response, and so it's done inside the body, and the release is also done by the body. So when you learn to do this and to release, then stress management becomes much easier, and life becomes easier. And for example, I don't work much with dyslexia, but once I had a kid with the mother, so they came together, both dyslexic, and for him it was very helpful with school. So we didn't even did it on purpose. It was just some practice, but it really helped him. And after that one session, he actually improved his grades a lot.
Wow. That's awesome.
And it was really, we were not expecting it. So it just happened.
Yeah.
But also with different things that are not necessarily directly related, but that provoke a stress, that induce some kind of stress. And by releasing it with the body and going into the body, it allows people to connect with it, to let go, and then to reuse it by just using the body. And by connecting with the body, there's less, so that there's a connection that happens, that allows stress to be released. I don't know if I'm making sense, or maybe repeating myself.
It's more about the getting in touch with the body is more about helping them be able to manage whatever stress does come their way. Because the stress is what will trigger, kind of the overstimulation. Like it's kind of helping them manage that part of it.
So basically, when you have a stress, your body reacts to this stress. And this body reaction, it's something that will allow you to do some very intense movement. So you have the fight or flight reaction, okay? Either fight or fleeing, it's very intense.
Yep.
And your body gets ready for that. But this happens very fast, and it's done by the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system wants to keep you alive. So if it estimates that you risk your life more if you fight or if you run away, it will make you freeze or fawn, okay? And if you were in nature, there would be a body response in order to release all the chemicals and tension created for this intense movement that actually wasn't done. And so you were not able to complete this stress response because you were just like froze, okay? So if you are in nature, your body would release and do some tremoring, for example, in order to release everything. And then your life goes on without any trauma and with a completed stress response. However, due to our modern life, this stress response often is not completed. So we are in a situation where we cannot move, the stress comes, the body reacts exactly the same as if we were facing some kind of danger in nature. But we are not in nature, we cannot move, we cannot fight, or we cannot run away. So we just stay there without releasing, without completing the stress response. So it accumulates and it creates extra stress, chronic stress, anxiety, chronic anxiety, and so on.
That makes total sense. Sense. So it's helping the body base. So can you give an example of when you're helping people reconnect with their bodies? Give an example of what that might look like, how you're helping them get more in touch with their body.
So there are different ways. So one of the ways that I use it to induce this tremoring response with TRE. So it's a technique that so basically you do some exercises in order to induce this tremoring response. And by inducing this tremoring response, your body releases stress. And so this is one way of doing it. And then another way, it's another technique I use called somatic experiencing, where you can also have tremors and where you are going to complete uncompleted stress responses by just bringing your awareness to what goes on with your body. And your body will do something that will complete
a stress
response.
Yeah.
And then it's done. Yeah. And it's something that it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So this is another way of doing it. And sometimes there's tremoring occurring. And so it's very powerful because your body releases all the chemicals and the tension with the tremoring, but also this tremoring is completing the stress response with the movement that the body couldn't do at the moment.
When it happened. Yeah.
And it's doing now. Yep. So basically is that we do with somatic experience is completing uncompleted stress responses.
Yeah, I love that. It's such good tools. And I use a lot of somatic work and the work that I do with clients. And it's powerful for anybody, just being able to, like you're talking about, complete their stress response. Obviously it's a different effect when we're talking about people who are neurodivergent minds. I would love though for you to, are there any, I'm sure you could talk about this for a long time, but are there any big myths that you feel like should be debunked about neurodivergent minds? The myths that people believe about neurodiversity, whether it's the people, neurodivergent people themselves or other people, any myths that you feel like should be?
There's one thing, I'm not sure it's the right thing. So it's not mental illness. It's
That's
just
good distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so neurodivergent folks, they are not sick.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a problem. But, well, they do have problems, but it's not like
A disease.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not a disease. It's
Right.
not a health problem. It's not a
Yes.
mental health problem.
Yes.
It's just a different way of functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And often this different way of functioning comes with a hypersensitivity. And often, at least here in Europe, we tend to think that his hypersensitivity, it's only related with emotions. But no, it can be related with anything. So it can be the way you hear, you listen to things. So maybe you have a very accurate hearing, or a lot of sensitivity to lights. It can also be the skin. So you can have like the skin hypersensitive. So when people touch you, it's just like too much. And all of this can be overwhelming. And if you don't notice it, this hypersensitivity, it can be way too much and a big stressor. But it's just sensitivity, and it's not like a disease.
Yeah.
So, and you can learn to cope with it in order to reduce stress.
Yeah. No, I think that's such a good distinction. And I think a lot of people need to hear that right now because yes, I think that there is a lot of misconception that this is like a disease to be fixed or cured or whatever. And that's just, that's not it. So for those listening who maybe they are neurodivergent and maybe they're listening and trying to figure out ways to kind of I don't want to say cope, embrace the neurodiversity. Or what are some, and you've mentioned some of these kind of body-based things, but is there anything else that you can mention to help people who maybe experience that sensory overload, feeling kind of, dealing with overstimulation, like feeling that, to going to feeling more like empowered and calm in their bodies? Or and any other things that you can offer them?
So there is a very easy thing that we can do, all of us, because it's common to any living being, that it's to breathe. And a very easy way to calm down the nervous system, it's to exhale the double of time of the inhale. And this anyone can do. And through the nose, it's even better, especially the inhale. So just inhale to the count of 3 or 4 and exhale to the count of 6 or 8, and do this, 5 times, 10 times. And it really helps. And then notice when you do this, what happens in your body. So this is something that you can do. Another thing is to feel something. So when you are stressed, just feel the textures that you can. So, for example, your clothes, your skin, notice the temperature. If you are sitting like at a table, just put your hand on the table and feel the texture. Or look around you and find objects that you like and count them. For example, so how many objects can I see there that I like? Notice the colors. So basically, it's do something with your 5 senses, the most common ones. So touch, smell, also taste, look, and listening, for example, to hear something. No, like counting 3 different sounds.
That's good. So basically, all of these tools that you're giving us right now, all of these still go back to getting back in touch with your body, because that's what all of those are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when you do this, you are not thinking, because you are actually like looking at something and then counting. And you can count. Count is great.
Yeah.
So count 5 objects, notice 1 smell, or 2 smells, 1 taste, identify 3 different sounds, 2, 3 textures.
Yeah.
And
I love that. All of it. Just thinking about thinking and not letting your mind go and getting connect with your body. I mean, it's just such good advice for anybody, even if you're not neurodivergent or don't consider yourself neurodivergent. So I have one more question I want to ask you before we start to wrap up, because the other end of this, I know there's parents out there listening who have kids who are neurodivergent. So do you have any tools, strategies, anything you want to leave with parents listening who are trying to kind of like do the best for their kids and helping their kids be able to thrive?
I don't know. For me, it was important. I had some struggles with my son, sometimes understanding him. So I was kind of losing patience with him. And because sometimes he wouldn't understand me. And then I realized that when I was his age, I had the same problems. So, and I asked him, so, but do you feel this? So when I do this to you, so when I talk with you like this, what happens with you? And I asked him, so what can I do so this won't happen? So I won't lose my patience, and then I will disturb you. Realizing that I'm much like him, and I was much like him, and that I can actually ask him, what can I do for this to go better? So I will not lose my patience, and for example, speak in a less nice way. And he told me, so this is, and he actually answers me. And by accepting that sometimes that things that are not socially elegant are the best for us.
That's such good advice. That's good. Well, I think you brought up a really great point there of just like you just had a conversation with him, like having a real conversation of like, hey, what works for you? That we know, how can we work together? And I think those are really powerful conversations that are often overlooked.
Yeah, and it was a summer that I actually lost patience with him because he wants to be on his screen all the time.
Sure.
And I was like, you cannot do this all the time. So I was getting very stressed, and I was having a hard time accepting the screen thing. But actually, to play, it helps him calm down, and it's his way of releasing stress.
Yep.
But not too much.
Sure. Yeah. Setting boundaries.
So then let's try to talk about this and try to find a way that we can both cope with the situation. And we talked, and he explained to me how I could actually remember him. So when it was time, okay, so this is time to stop, how I could do it in a way that was not unpleasant for him.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I love that. Honest conversations, and just like, how can we compromise? We meet in the middle and work something that works for everybody. Yeah, that's such good advice. This is such a great conversation. I think this is such a good introduction about neurodiversity for those who are curious about it, or maybe are managing it themselves and maybe feeling like, they don't have control over their bodies or their minds. And, it's, go ahead.
Sorry, another thing.
Yeah.
So often neurodivergent kids, they have neurodivergent parents.
Yeah,
but parents don't always know because they are adults and they were not diagnosed.
Sure.
So for me, the most important thing was to think, when I was a kid, what was going on with me that wasn't pleasant, what I was struggling with.
Yep.
And then extrapolation, I don't know if we can say this. And then looking at my kid and thinking, okay, maybe my kid is struggling with the same things.
Yep, for sure.
And so it makes easy to understand, because sometimes we don't understand because we don't remember.
Right.
But if we actually make the effort, exactly. But if we think when we were kids, like what was going on, and I remember, so I needed sometimes to move away, just to cry, to release stress.
Yeah.
And my son does this.
Yeah.
And for me, it was important to remember I was doing this.
Yeah.
And I can see that he does that too, in order to explain, okay, sometimes he just needs his time in order to really,
Yeah, for sure.
And so just to remember when we were kids.
Yeah, it's hard for us to think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful advice for any parent, whether you have a neurodivergent kid or not. Like, think about it. Like, think about when you were a kid. Yeah, no, this is such good advice. And this is such Good. I mean, I think the tools here that you've just outlined for us are so simple, but so powerful up for us to be able to manage that stress response and really kind of stay, I don't want to say control in the bad way, but really, yeah, just feel more empowered. I guess that's what I'm looking for, just to feel more empowered of, managing our minds and our bodies and all that. So such good work. And I have Raquel's links to all the things, her website and everything in the show notes. You can go check her out, connect with her is LinkedIn your social media of choice? I have
for the moment,
yeah. For the moment, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
for the moment, yeah.
Okay, so I have the links to all that in the show notes, so you can go check out Raquel and just look at the work that she's doing and the method that she's. I think this could be. So, do you work internationally with people?
I do.
Okay,
but
perfect.
All my sites and social media is in French.
Okay, yeah. Well,
but I do work internationally. I work online, and I speak French, English, and Portuguese from Portugal.
Yes. All right. We have trilingual here, so that's always a plus. So yes, if you're in the States and you still want support from Raquel, go reach out because she can help you. And I do have one more question that I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody as we wrap up. What do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
I don't know. I would say body awareness. For me, it's very important to live with purpose. It's what allows me to know where I'm going. Yeah.
I love that. Body awareness. I love that.
Body awareness.
Yeah.
Connecting with my body.
Yep. 100%. I love such a good answer and such a good note to leave on because I feel like that's kind of the theme of what we just talked about with neurodiversity, like connecting with your body, getting in touch with your body. I think this is so good. Thank you so much, Raquel, for this conversation and for the work you're doing and just helping all of those with neurodiversity to really be able to embrace it and feel empowered and have the tools to really thrive. So thank you.
Thank you, Hope, for having me.